You've probably seen this scene before, but what if I told you the water was freezing, the actors were shaking, and the director didn't even have a fully written script for it? And yes, that director was Federico Fellini, a man who broke all the rules of cinema to create his own rules, and somehow he changed storytelling forever. So, who was Fellini? Let's dive in. In the 1950s decades, the film industry continued making realist films, a tendency that started after the war. Italian neorealism was at its peak. Themes like poverty, daily life and wars, and directors like Rossellini with Roma città aperta or Vittorio De Sica with Ladri di biciclette. Everything had to be realistic and frightening. Fortunately, a new wave of auteur cinema came out around the world. In the USA, Alfred Hitchcock. In Sweden, Ivan Bergman. In Japan, Akira Kurosawa. In France, François Truffaut. This filmmaker broke all the cinema laws to share their vision. New techniques, new films, and new stories. They did a whole revolution by themselves. However, there was a director who decided to change everything, to experiment, to play with the dream world, and redefine a genre, Federico Fellini. Federico Fellini was born in Rimini in 1920s. He grew up in a middle-class family. Since he was a kid, he admired the circus. There is a story that says Fellini escaped with some circus fairies that had settled up in his town, and he traveled with them for a few years. When he was a teenager, he was a humor writer, and also he designed posters for movies. During World War II, he started writing scripts and worked helping filmmakers like Rossellini. Suddenly, he felt neorealism was a narrow vision of the reality. He needed more poetical and dreamy. Firstly, he co-directed with Alberto Lautada Variety Lights, his debut as a director. Later on, he started making low-budget films until he entered the Italian industry. In this video, I'm going to review two of his masterpieces, La Dolce Vita and 8½. In 1960, Fellini dropped a film that completely broke storytelling. It contains 9 narrative chapters, including a prologue and an epilogue. The film shows the life of a Roman, a high-class life. The main character is played by Marcello Mastroianni, the fetish actor of Fellini. The film avoids a linear story, or any coherence between scenes, so the 9 chapters are independent. Also, Fellini incorporates a non-very-used technique for the characters. The main character isn't always chosen like classic cinema. It is not character-driven. The character slides through reality, letting itself be carried away by the situations. La Dolce Vita is not full of dream experience, but it does have some seemingly non-real situations. For example, the prologue, that is a helicopter carrying the statue of Jesus. Furthermore, it is normal that the public doesn't understand the film at their first watch, because it has no ending. The ending is just an empty character like all the other ones, symbolizing the existential crisis of Marcello. Also, all the film consists of long takes, sometimes boring if you are not used to it. I'm sure you have seen the Fontana di Trevi scene where Silvia and Marcello stop time through a kiss. What you may not know is that during the filming, the water was frozen, so both actors, Anita Ekberg and Marcello Mastroianni, were trembling, so he needed to drink vodka during takes. The filming of La Dolce Vita was also experimental like the final result. Even though the entire city of Rome is shown, most of the film was filmed in a private studio, Cinecittà, having to recreate identical streets and squares. 8½ is one of the most personal films of Fellini, autobiographical. In this film, he explored the through-line world through the existential crisis of the main character, Guido Anselmi, also played by Marcello Mastroianni. The film delves into Guido, a film director who is creatively broke while trying to make a new movie. This mental block drives him to dive into his mind, remembering his childhood, relationship with women, or the pressure the film industry has on him. 8½ incorporates many film techniques that no one was using at that time. The main innovation of the film is the tiny line between memories, the real world, and dreams. This walks away from the Italian neorealism. Fellini gives the camera a lively motion. It involves the public in Guido's mind, using smooth transition and travelings. The editing structure of the film is also brilliant. It doesn't use clear transition between scenes. A scene just shifts from reality to memories to dreams, but in a way that the viewer never loses the track. Gianni Di Benancio, the cinematographer, played a black and white style where the lights are very exposed and the shadows are very deep, which creates an unreal atmosphere. Moreover, there are length changes between different realities, with dream, memories, and real life. If you have asked why it is named 8½, it is because before making the film, Federico Fellini had to create 6 full-length films, a co-direction, and 2 short films. Guido is literally an alter ego of Fellini. Fellini says to Marcello, "Don't act, just be Fellini." Like La Dolce Vita, Ethan Hawke was almost recorded in Cinecittà Studios in Rome. In this film, they made for the final scene a giant and finished rocket to show the creative block of the character. Federico Fellini has undoubtedly one of the most characteristic styles of film history. You can know if it's a Fellini film just by seeing a frame. For Fellini, cinema has to be personal, like the real life, but more poetic and humorous, and useful to understand the reality that surrounds us. He didn't like to straight with his actors. He just gave them minimal or vague instructions, searching for feeling and avoiding realism. Fellini also changed the script during the filming of the movies, rewriting on set based on his own intuition rather than a structure. That is how he created a new universe inside cinema, charming and magical in some ways. Maybe his best quality was to break the rules and look where nobody was looking in. Fellini wrote a big part of actual storytelling. He opened a world of deeply autobiographical stories combined with non-linear structures and psychological themes. Fellini's films combine all the elements cinema has: camera, actors, music, editing, and set design. Naturally, he inspired some well-known film directors that came after him. Martin Scorsese is considered a fan of Fellini and uses deeply personal expression in his films, exploring guilt, identity, and crisis. Woody Allen was so influenced by Federico Fellini that he made a film with the Fellini-esque style called Stardust Memory. And then, the best influential filmmaker is David Lynch, who loves exploring dreams and unreal worlds using non-linear and irrational structures. If you have liked this video about Fellini's universe, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content about the cinema universe. Write down a comment on what should be next. A film, a director, a cinematic technique. Thanks for watching and see you in the theater.